You know, if you look at the Pacific, we're a region that's characterized by countries which are almost 100% completely reliant on importation of goods, whether these be consumables, food, household goods, electronic goods, vehicles. It's all one-way traffic. And so at the end of the day, when these goods come to the end of their life cycle, there's no return. They end up as waste. These wastes impact our health. You know, a lot of the waste that come in the form of plastics, we've seen some of our communities, they burn the plastics. These become pollutants, and they create air pollution. It's not very healthy for us. But they also contaminate land, and that means that land that is available for use for us, whether it's agricultural, economic, commercial, then becomes less. So there's an impact on land because of the contamination from waste. But there's also an impact in terms of our iconic marine species. In particular, when you look at the increased incidence of plastics, some of it is floating in the ocean, some of it is found on our beaches. A lot of our iconic marine species are either entangled by it or they actually ingest the plastics. And so it's an impact on our marine species, and that's a concern for us, not just because of the need to conserve these iconic species, but these are part of our cultures, and so if they're gone, then part of our cultures is also gone.
So the meeting was UNEA 3, it's the UN Environment Assembly, and it's held every 2 years. At that meeting, many of the heads of environment around the world come to that meeting. And it was at that meeting that we met Simon. You know, I was standing at the back having coffee, and he came and said to me and Karen, "What can Swire Shipping do to help this problem?" We didn't know what to say to him, and he looked at us and he says, "If I don't hear back from you in the next 40 seconds, I'm walking away." At that moment we said, "Please don't go. Let's talk more. Let's meet up for coffee." And the following day we met for coffee. We had a discussion about what was possible. Everything was possible for Simon, and everything was possible for Swire Shipping.
The Moana Taka Partnership came about when I was at the United Nations Environment Assembly, the third meeting in Nairobi in December 2017. There was a lot of concern there about waste, plastic in the seas, waste in general, and I met with representatives from SPREP, and we agreed that because we are bringing finished goods into the middle of the Pacific and then taking our empty containers out of the Pacific, we can put the waste which is accumulating here in the Pacific into those containers and send them out generally to the rim of the Pacific, where it can be responsibly recycled. There's a lot of waste products collecting in the Pacific Ocean, in the Central Pacific Ocean, in all the countries and territories there. A large amount of it is plastic waste and packaging, which comes from finished goods, which we are taking into the center of the Pacific Ocean in our containers and on our ships. You have a problem, and I think we can provide a solution, but I need to know in a little bit more detail what you've got, where is it, and where does it need moving to?
We've got asbestos, we've got used oil, we've got ozone-depleting substances, and we've got lots of plastic stockpiles. They're in all Pacific Island countries, and what we need is a ability and a shipment to ship those wastes out of the Pacific to markets overseas.
We actually move hazardous waste all the time, but the shipper is responsible for the paperwork, and everything that I've seen in Nairobi, endless pictures of plastic on the beaches and harming the wildlife, the biodiversity. There is a lot of plastic here in all of the islands. Anything we can do to get rid of that plastic, get it back to where it can be properly recycled, we're very happy, very keen to try and help you. And we're also going to work with UNEP, if possible.
Yeah, there are a number of ways we can help and are helping. One is, like Tony said, Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Secretariat is with us. The other ways that we can help is with identifying destination facilities in Asia and even further out, because we have a network of offices around the Asia Pacific region and also further out. Maybe the other way that we can also help is by communicating and publicizing what Moana Taka is doing, to try and maybe get other shipping lines to do the same in other regions, even here. So we are able to replicate Moana Taka initiative in other places. The other opportunity is with big forums like the Asia Pacific Environment Ministers Forum that will be held in South Korea next year, 2020, and also the UN Environment Assembly 5th session, which will be in Nairobi in 2021. So those are all opportunities that we can provide a platform for SPREP and Swire to publicize the good work that they're doing.
Okay, well, that all sounds excellent. We are also very keen to replicate it. This is not a revenue line item for us. It's a really easy thing because we're moving the empty containers out of the centre of the Pacific anyway. So it's our procedures, the paperwork, the whole process is openly available, and we would hope that other shipping companies can adopt this too. The Moana Taka Partnership is an agreement between Swire Shipping and the China Navigation Company and SPREP, which is the Secretariat for the Pacific Regional Environment Programme, to move non-commercial waste, whether it's hazardous or non-hazardous, from the Pacific, the centre of the Pacific area to the Pacific Rim, where it can be responsibly and competently and sustainably recycled. There is some waste which is removed, old car batteries and that sort of thing. That's an existing trade. We don't touch that. But for both hazardous and non-hazardous, non-commercial waste, we will do everything we can to help reduce the waste mountains which are collecting at the moment in the Pacific. We'll be showing the contact details for the relevant people, both at Swire Shipping in Suva and for SPREP in Apia on the last frame of this video.
Partnership between the Pacific and the Swire Shipping Company. Basically what they do is that they help us to remove a lot of these wastes which we are not able to remove from our islands and from our environment in the first instance. And that's a good partnership, and that's a partnership that we are engaged with and we will continue to strengthen it going into the future.
At the end of the day, it's all about partnership to address waste issues. Waste is integrated to climate change, it's integrated to biodiversity. Waste is everyone's problem, so everyone needs to contribute to solve this problem.
So, here's to the Moana Taka Partnership.
Thank you, Swire Shipping, and thank you, UNEP.